This is TMI Sunday's edition, the first edition for the week. Well, it's all about what is going on right now in Rivers State, talking about state of emergency, how Vice Admiral Ibas, retired, can really bring the people together to work as one in the next 6 months. Taking a look at the issues that gave rise to it, and of course the aftermath of the declaration of state of emergency. They will now proceed on how this man will rule. From what has been going on right now, pundits are like saying that this man truly, he has a good heart, from the way he's been acting, from the way he's been going, from the way that the pro-Wike and of course the pro-Fubara agents right now in court are beginning to cooperate with him. I've not heard anyone saying he isn't doing well for the past 2 or 3 days now. What the meeting he called for is not normal and all that. But well, let's leave that for my analyst to really talk on. With me here in the studio, he is a lecturer, yeah, and of course, according to our constitution, you do have the right to belong to any political party. I want to call him a chieftain of the APC because of the way they carry the APC matter since the inception of this administration. Join me to welcome Dr. Andrew Mosefe. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's always a pleasure to be in your studio. And good morning, Edo people.
All right. Well, Advisor Mesosa, where chieftain of the PDP, will definitely join us, who spoke some few minutes ago, is trying to get connected. When it connects, definitely you're going to hear his own side of the story. Well, with me also in the studio, I have a very vibrant youth, yes, a youth mobilizer and APC chieftain in Lagos local governments. Join me to welcome Festus Ekinayamedo. Hope I got it.
Ekinayamedo.
I tried now. So leave that
Ekinayamedo.
Ekinayamedo. Thank you. Thank you for that Edo lesson. Ekinayamedo.
Good morning, Wednesday. Good morning, viewers.
All right. Now, join us virtually. He is a very, very brilliant analyst and author, and of course, a political divide. Yeah, over the time, you know, he's been a lover of good politics, a lover also of, you know, good governance, and he's a member of the PDP as of the last time I checked. But, you know, everybody have the right to think freely and say what they want to say, whatever they feel about governance. Join me to welcome St. Moses Mosele joining us virtually. St. Moses, it's a pleasure to have you join us virtually.
Good morning, Wilson, and I'm sorry, I am no longer a member of the People's Democratic Party, a civil rights activist, and yes, I have sympathy for the PDP.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for that correction. I really appreciate that. Well, Sosewe also has promised to join us virtually. He's trying to make his connect. We spoke a few minutes ago. So let's move straight down to what is happening right now in Rivers State. Vice Admiral Ibas is now in charge. Vice Admiral Ibas retired, yes. I have to stress that part. Retired, is now in charge, and people are like saying that things are beginning to take shape, while some are still bickering about the reason why they should declare state of emergency in the first instance. Let me start off with Moses for some good reasons. Well, St. Moses, I'm coming straight to you. What do you feel about this? Ibas being at the helm of affairs, sole administrator, all funds directly given to him, and has promised to clear the backlog of salaries of local government workers that have been held up for 2 months.
For a start, I think the administrator of River State has started well. Obviously, he's a very experienced person. He's been calling stakeholders, and that's the right way to start. However, I do not subscribe to the state of emergency in the first place. It's an aberration. It's something that I consider an illegality, although the Senate has approved it. We want to find out from the court whether it's okay. But so far, the administrator started well. He's been doing well, and hopefully he will end well.
All right. He said it's doing well. Hopefully, we end with that. Let me come to Dr. Andrew. You know, he said the state of emergency is an aberration. But from the way the man is going, he started because he's beginning to consult with stakeholders. State of emergency, is it an aberration? For making that call, is it truly an aberration?
What's an aberration about it? I mean, the relevant section of the Constitution, talking about Section 305, empowers the president to, in fact, declare a state of emergency under certain conditions. That is when the nation or any part thereof is in a danger of war, natural disaster, or there is a disruption of public order. And so this Section 305 adequately, sufficiently empowers the president to declare a state of emergency in any part of the nation, provided it meets with the criteria as prescribed in Section 305. And so there's no aberration there. Now, the other part that majorly the opposition have been complaining about has to do with the removal of, not removal now, the suspension of Mr. Sim Fubara from office. And they also try to argue, including the Nigerian Bar Association and very senior eminent lawyers, have also argued that the suspension of the governor and the State House of Assembly wasn't captured in Section 305 of the Constitution. And in fact, the president has no right to suspend an elected public officer. While I agree that the president doesn't have right to suspend an elected public officer under normal circumstances, but I dare say, even though I'm not a lawyer, but I'm a researcher, and as a researcher, I also have the capacity to go ahead and get sufficient facts in areas I am interested in. And so when this started, I had to also dig in. And when I got to Section 305, actually I did not see anywhere that was specifically, you know, the specific, you know, an area that was specifically preserved for the removal or suspension of public officers. But again, under an emergency rule, what it means is that the man who is elected governor cannot preside over anything, whether it has to do with security, whether it has to do with even allocation of resources. And so, because the Constitution did not prescribe, you know, modalities, you know, for the implementation of a state of emergency, it gave the president the authority to decide on the method of implementing a state of emergency, including the suspension or outright removal of the governor and the State House of Assembly. And don't forget that since the Constitution has already said that if there is a threat to public peace and order, the president can, in fact, declare a state of emergency. And the way the political climate of Rivers State was going, it became expedient for the president to, as a matter of fact, declare a state of emergency. And even me, I even feel that the president did not do this on time. I believe that right from the very day that the State House of Assembly complex was demolished, that day could have been the day the president should have taken this decision. Because there is no democracy without a legislature. There is no democracy without legislature. And so those who say that this is a democratic rule and because of that the president cannot suspend a sitting governor, I also ask, what part of the Constitution gives the governor the right to destroy the legislative branch of government? In fact, the legislature is the bastion of democracy. It is the legislature that serves as check and balance to the executive.
But it's done for innovation purpose.
For innovation purpose?
Yes.
For renovation purpose.
And he wasn't the first to do that.
For renovation. No, the fact that he wasn't the first to do it didn't mean that those who did it before him were correct. And in fact, this culture of governors, you know, just going into the House of Assembly, you know, after little altercation or little argument, you just move into the State House of Assembly and destroy it. I mean, you cannot destroy the very foundations of democracy.
All right.
And that was what Fubara did. As far as I am concerned, the president should have taken this decision from the day the legislative arm of government was, in fact, the holy legislative sanctuary was desecrated.
Really?
Yes.
When your party did that in those states, you never said this.
That is exactly what I am saying. That the fact that those before Fubara did it,
yes,
did not make it correct, including my party.
Okay.
It did not make it correct.
All right, I'll come back to
Yeah.
you. I'll come back to you. Let's move straight down to Festus. Well, as it stands right now, things are beginning to take shape. Are you still of the opinion that a sort of emergency should not have been declared after all? Former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan kicked against it, saying that is a dent on Nigeria. Take it up from there.
The problem is, when you take advice from man's people, you are bound to act like a madman. Fubara was supposed to be His Excellency. And when you act carelessly, it shows that you have left honor. The Excellency is no longer there.
How do you mean?
I'm coming. For our former amiable president, Goodluck, to come up with that idea of whatever the Tinubu administration has done, declaring a state of emergency in Rivers State, should have been done. You know what he ought to say? I have waited to see elders from Sat cautioning Fubara when he was carrying out acts that are anti-democratic. None of these people came out. Even the Amechi that is talking today stood while the second leg of democracy was being rooted off Cross Rivers. They didn't come out to speak. Now that the needful has been done, you see them, they are wailing. Wincy, the problem we have in this country is if I am in the winning team, illegality is favoring me or my people, we are dancing. But when that illegality begins to fight back, we begin to cry. And that is what we are seeing today. There are supposed to be elders in River State that should have called Fubara before now and advised him. Make sure he yields to their advice. Don't forget, the president called the three parties before now. They agreed on 8-point agenda. You go do this, you go do that, you go and do this. Fubara went at first. He began to execute part of those agreements. He got to a time, these same elders that are crying today, one is late now. I'll call his name if you want me to call his name. They called him and told him, you are the governor. Just like what our former governor said, I cannot be governor and not be governor. You are the governor. You have power. Use your power. Why would they cajole you to doing this? They were the number 2 problems Fubara had. And these are people that are supposed to call him to order.
But can one be the governor without being a governor? Because that was all the agreement entails.
Now, how do you expect a man that flew from level 14 to level 17, he became a permanent secretary. From there, he became an accountant general. Meanwhile, there are people that have been in the race that ought to be there. When you are taking some favor, Wincy, you must check and balance. The problem we have in this part of the country is we don't want to fulfill agreements. Let's leave the state of emergency or whatever. What led to the problem in River State is agreements. I told some persons that for you to become the president of the United States of America, you must meet some businessmen.
Exactly.
They will tell you, protect our businesses. You see Elon Musk? I guess you are seeing the way he's going bomber to bomber with the president. If we reach an agreement and you think you can't meet up to the agreement, why do you think you will pick the position and work against me? And Wike on his own has his own flaw. At the end of the day, both of them, they are not gaining anything.
All right. I'll come back to you. Let's move straight down to where St. Moses is. Join us virtually during Benin City. St. Moses, now who are the biggest losers in this state of emergency? Some are saying the state of emergency in a way favored Fubara because hadn't been that Mr. President didn't declare state of emergency, perhaps, just perhaps, it would have been impeached. Now, what do you have to say about this?
Hello, thank you very much.
All right.
I told someone the moment I read about the state of emergency that Fubara is indeed a lucky man because he ought to have been impeached within a month and two after that state. The reason being that the House of Assembly were determined to impeach him. They were like the evil gods that would take blood. If you give them zobo, they will not take. If you give them anything red, they will not take, except it's human blood. Even if you give them animal blood, they will not take, except it's human blood. So they needed him to fall, and he knew that. And the president, to some extent, I think, may just want to protect Fubara by giving that that treatment to Fubara. However, the reason I say it's an aberration, I'm not saying the state of emergency is something that's not authorized to the president to make. He has all the powers to make that, but the conditions to be fulfilled before a state of emergency was made was not fulfilled. Assuming but not conceding that those conditions were fulfilled, as in there was a threat to peace, there was a threat to order, but then there was a procedure for removing a governor. You have to transmit to the National Assembly. Transmit to the National Assembly this state of emergency. They will approve at the point of approval before your emergency takes effect. Not just make a statement and you must leave. The reason why we say this is not because we do not recognize the fact that the president needs to be proactive. We recognize the danger of allowing certain small liberties for the president so he not become a dictator. In in Germany, we had a president like this, Hitler. Hitler was allowed to do certain things. He was allowed to do certain things. At a point, it became a problem. He told them small things, just allow it. And when they allowed him at a point, he overran the country. So we want to avoid a situation where we have a president who becomes a civilian dictator. That's why we are saying the National Assembly must be respected. I agree with my brother, Dr. Andy Omostefi. He said that the state of emergency ought to have been declared at the time the Assembly House was destroyed. I share that view. In fact, I add that view as a point. You cannot destroy the very foundation of democracy and say you are in a democracy. The president should have come here at that time because that was a threat to the peace and stability of Rivers State. But he didn't come in. So when you have lost that, then you lose that. Now, the reason why we have to caution the president now is the same thing that Andrew Moseveni said about Edo State when you asked him about Edo State. That, it happened in Edo State before under his government. He didn't say nothing. He said we should not continue. Again, if you do not caution the president today, because he's a party man, it will happen tomorrow in another government. It's not a party man. And it may be more dangerous. So we must grow beyond partisanship. We must go beyond, it's my party, it's my thing. Let's look at our country. That's why I told you just now, yes, I sympathize with the PDP so far, yes, but I'm not longer a member of any party because I see that it doesn't really, they don't really represent my fundamental beliefs. You know, I was in the APC. I worked so hard for the APC. I worked so hard for the PDP. So at the point, I asked myself, what these parties, do they really have ideological differences? No. Okay, what do I want to be in the party? Let me just be out of the party until it's not a party that I would want, that I can be with and be proud of, and can live and die with. Then I will join the party. Until then, I'm a freelance politician. I'm a civil rights activist, and I want to contribute to the development of my country. Fubara behaved irresponsibly. Wike has been behaving irresponsibly, and even the president is the only one who behaved very responsibly. How? Because he called everybody together. He called them more than once, and they didn't listen to him. So he had to wield the big stick. So I do not blame the president, but only that I'm concerned about procedure and democracy. Take note of that. So in summary, the state of emergency was necessary, but the procedure was wrong. And Fubara erred, Wike erred, the Rivers elders erred grossly because they could not sit down as elders and advise their children. And right now, because all of them fear themselves, a stranger is in their land, repeat everything. And this man will do 6 months, may even do more. And then it may even be history for Fubara. But we pray that he comes back and learn his lessons, and Wike learns his lesson, because Wike too will be a loser. Take note, the president is a strategist. Right now, the river state that he gets two third parties, he now has in his right hands. He's now the owner of River State. So in 6 months, he will recondition, reprogram River State, and then he will no longer need Wike, he will no longer need Fubara, and then he now has his 2 million votes, and then all of them are do that. So they have to be careful. Thank you very much.
Quite interesting, very, very interesting analysis. You'll delve into the next questions, or a barrage of questions that's really acting about political calculation. That will come towards the tail end of this particular, the tail rather, of this discussion. Now, he said Fubara was saved. Now, if Fubara was saved from impeachment via the 6-month suspension, so to speak, how come some persons are not really happy about it? And he said Wike's hand also have been weakening away. Please take it up from there, Dr. Andrew.
Well, I don't, in fact, I will say it's both ways.
Both ways, how?
Yeah, it's either he has been saved or his head has just been chopped off. It's either he has been saved or his head has just been
Please elaborate.
off. Now, this is it. The impeachment process had already started. He has been served. And that is standing, or it is hanging. If the president...
No, they never serving impeachment later. They say you should come and answer questions.
And now the process has started. He was served a letter.
They served already.
You know, a notice.
Yes.
You know, so the thing is, that process is hanging. And if Fubara actually wants to continue as governor, he will use this 6 months period to actually go around, try to mend fences, both with the Rivers elders, even if at a point those guys were with him, at a point it appeared they were not with him. I don't even know what the Rivers elders, were doing, whether they were even benefiting from the crisis. But in this period, if he actually wants to remain as governor, this is the time he needs to go around and mend fences, both with Wike, the House of Assembly members, even the president, the Rivers elders. He needs to quickly move, reach out to everybody, and settle this matter. Like St. Moses rightly said, the president is at liberty to even extend this emergency rule by another 6 months. Section 305 guarantees that. And so, if the president sees that within these first 6 months, all the stakeholders have come together and they have agreed to maintain peace and order, he may lift the state of emergency. Otherwise, they will spend 1 year. And when those guys return, the House of Assembly members, don't forget they will be wounded. And those scars all over their faces. That is if Fubara doesn't make the necessary move at this time. But if he doesn't, then the impeachment process will continue, because Fubara has actually committed impeachable offenses. Number one, he destroyed the House of Assembly complex. Number two, he stopped abruptly or arbitrarily stopped the salaries of House of Assembly members. Number three, he spent Rivers money without appropriation, and several other impeachable offenses that he committed at this point. So they actually have him, in their grip. It depends on how Fubara now tries to resolve. And this is where political expertise, political sagacity, this is where it comes in. And if he doesn't have the capacity, he can quickly get some persons that he knows can have the capacity to resolve this issue and quickly, as fast as possible, resolve it. He should also try to see the president and then have discussion. Don't forget, The president has every right to be angry with Fubara. The president invited Fubara to the State House 4 times. Tried to intervene in this matter. The first time, they came up with 8 resolutions. The second time, the resolutions were not fulfilled, and the president called him again, and then they spoke. He even came out on TV to say he just finished with the president and that he's committed to enforcing, you know, the agreements that he reached. The 3rd time, and then the 4th time was after the Supreme Court judgment, when Pandef went to see the president, and Fubara was among them, and then the president, they told Pandef that they should tell Fubara to go and implement the Supreme Court judgment. Instead of Fubara to come back and implement Supreme Court judgment, they started, you know, with all kinds of shit.
Yeah, but still, he was trying to implement the judgment, go to the House, present, what's it called again, the budget, and nobody was shut out.
Which budget?
He was shut out.
How was he shut out? Which letter did he write? Did you see Fubara write any letter? Oh, is it the one that was signed by his aide, the SSG? In fact, if you have respect for the institution, the legislative institution, and you are communicating, you as the head of an institution, that's the executive, you are communicating with the head of the legislature. Right. Shouldn't you sign the letter yourself?
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Now, from what Moses said, he said, this also will affect Wike. Do you feel that this suspension will affect Wike? Because he said, president is not like former president Muhammadu Buhari that doesn't really, you know, dabble into politics as such. But the one we have now, he is an astute politician. He is, when you talk about calculative about the forthcoming election, he's like a master game planner in this particular terrain of politics. Do you see, one way or the other, Wike being affected negatively in all of this?
Fubara cannot be trusted.
You mean Fubara cannot be trusted?
Fubara cannot be trusted. Everything happening is a calculated game. Rivers' political structure was with Wike, and that structure needed to remain. That was why Wike was having issues with Fubara. What happened is this: Fubara has been removed from the picture. 2 things is going to happen. It's not a prophecy. He will be meant to face different, how do I pull it? He will be meant to face different questioning that has to do with money, or he will be impeached. What happened is this: the essence of suspension is to remove immunity. That is what we are still trying to figure out.
But he's still the governor.
I'm coming. That is what we are still trying to figure out. If the suspension affects his immunity, if actually the suspension has affected his immunity, EFCC or ICPC will call him very soon to answer some questions. Don't forget, before the 2023 election, EFCC was after him. It was this same Wike that went and said, let's this go down. So, if they are telling you Wike is losing, Wike just lost 10% because his boys will not be having money, the speakers and all. But Wike have gained more than what he was even expecting. The sole administrator is a bosom friend to this same Wike. So what the president is doing is this. It's a political calculation. I have to say this, even if I'm an APC member. We must get hold of Rivers State for 2027. Not that...
So that's the game plan of this one.
I'm coming. Not that the governor, the suspended governor, could not play the needed politics. Then he should be suspended. And a administrator bring in, he may be charged for financial recklessness, or after 6 months, he will be impeached. Look at what the suspended governor did. He was supposed to go have an agreement with the president, displace Wike, and become the bride of Rivers. Do you know what it takes for the president to call you? Let's sit and talk. Let's have a way. This problem is going to affect our country. Because whatever affects your state affects us. What do you want? He gave his option. Wike, what do you want? Wike gave his option. The assembly members, what do you people want? They gave their options. The governor said, okay, you withdraw this case. You withdraw this one. You, people that you've removed as commissioner, reinstate them or let him give you people you will now put away. That is an insult to the president, and you did nothing. Now, are you asking the president to trust Fubara? This same man you are asking to trust the suspended governor had the ambition of coming back 2027. If he is trusting the suspended governor, meaning he will not win Rivers State, a man that conducted a local government election leaving his party, the PDP, he went pick chairman, councillors, was it not AP?
Accord.
From another party. You can't trust such man. So the game is very, very clear to everybody. Those that are politically inclined understand that Fubara is gone. Technically, the man is gone. He had opportunity to have salvaged all this as a governor. You must not come for a second tenure. That is where many of them are missing it. You have a godfather that brought you through his influences. This same man is asking you to do this, do it, and give to the people what they want. Forget about second tenure. You must not come back for second tenure. What are you looking for? You've been there once. But you see a man that was so full of himself, a man that was picked from the gutter, clean up, and he was choosing to head Rivers State. He was not choosing because he was a favorite. He was choosing because he was needed to do the work of the Godfather.
All right.
We see I'm coming. Let me say this.
Please, briefly.
The problem we have in this country is what happened in Rivers State, where political gladiators pick their boys to become governors so they can use them. That's why we are having states in Nigeria that are underdeveloped.
I'll come back to you first, Sos. Well, beginning to dive into the political intricacies of all this, don't forget we're talking about Vice Admiral Ibas' peace plan. Can it really broker peace? And if it should broker peace, who will be the biggest winner? On the other hand, who will be the biggest loser? We'll be right back after this break. Don't go away. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is TMI Sunday's edition. We are taking a look at the state of emergency declared in Rivers State, and Vice Admiral Ibas' retired peace plan. But before we talk about the peace plan, let's take a look at the process and what led to the war. We'll move straight down to where Moses is right now. Well, Moses, you've heard Dr. Andrew and, of course, Comrade Festus talking about the biggest winners or losers in this particular war, so to speak. But you said Wike and, of course, Fubara will end up losing. But they are saying even if Wike is going to lose, it's going to be at less than 10%, that Fubara is the one that might just lose all. Because as it stands right now, impeachment notice have been served. What do you think Fubara can do right now to salvage the situation up to 6 months?
Yeah, Wilson, thank you. First of all, let me align with Dr. Mosefi, what he said about what Fubara could do. And if Fubara is sensible, I think that's the way to go. He will have to explore the legal, the political option. He needs to go make fences with all those who we've had issues with. He needs to meet with Wike. Yes, he needs to talk with Wike to sit down with Wike and analyze something I will talk about before I end this our conversation. He needs to meet with the House of Assembly, seek to get at least 30% of the members of the House of Assembly. The reason for that is that when they will convey, if they want to tow the impeachment process and complete it, which has actually started, then they will not have the numbers anymore. So that's why I say he was saved, because 6 months is a long time for any idiot to make fences, let alone somebody with the governor. So I expect him to go around the elders, go around even to the president, and go on his knees. He's been defeated. In wartime, if you are defeated, you go on your knees. If you are defeating the other, then you stand on your heels and all that. So I think he has that option. Then my friend, the other guy from Ego, he said some things that's very instructive. He said that it appears to be in his admission that it's an APC arrangement to take back Wike. The suspension is to remove his immunity, is to try him and demonize him, then remove him. And that's very ingenious, and that's a bit criminal. And I think that's not why the president intervened. If that was why the president intervened, he should be impeached. He himself should be impeached, because that is bringing his personal will in conflict with the will of peace and stability of the nation. But I disagree with him. I want to believe that he's not speaking on behalf of his party. And then he talked about 10% Wike losing. He may not understand why I said Wike is the bigger loser. I'm a deep thinker. I look also beyond partisan thinking. I see the president having about 5 plans, or had 5 plans. Number 1 plan was the president will say, if I want to get River State in 2027, I need to use Wike. That's plan A. Then plan B, okay, Wike is not the governor. Then Fubara is the governor. If Fubara is a fantastic governor, maybe, and he's in charge, I use Fubara. That's plan B. Then plan C, because if they can work together, Fubara, Wike, and maybe I can even woo Amechi, I can get River State. That's plan C. Then plan D, in case plan A, B, C fails, then I need to build a new force in River State, because I need to get 2 million votes. Otherwise, we will lose the election. The last election tells us volume. So I need a plan D. Then plan E. In case plan A to D fails, I need a federal force in River State. And that's why I suspect if plan A, B, C, D fails within the 6 months, the president will continue to extend this emergency. There's every slight reason to extend it. A month to expire, or the week to expire, 2 other bombs will blow off, and when it goes to one say we are fighting. Then it will extend again. There is no peace. It will extend and extend. So what I expect Fubara to do is to use this opportunity to get everybody together, get his own brain together, to adjust properly to civilized politics, and then save his heart and complete his 1 tenure and go home. Thank you.
Wow, interesting. I begin to see politics like a game of chess. You move one piece, move this. Now, from what St. Moses said, he says that Mr. President have this 6-game plan. Maybe in back of his mind, we're okay, fine. 27 is around the corner. Let's try this. Try. Doesn't work, we'll go to the other one. But let's take a look at the presence of Ibas. Because some are saying whether I want to believe it or not, one way or another, there is a connection between the retired Vice Admiral and, of course, the presidency and Wike, that this is just all part of the master plan to make sure that River State is delivered come 2027. How do you think Ibas fit into all of this?
Well, Ibas is not a politician. He's a retired naval officer, excellent during his days in the Navy, and ever since his retirement, he has retired into quietness. And the man was just brought in, as far as I'm concerned, to stabilize the polity and inject some sanity into the political climate in River State. And that is how I see it. I do not know if he was brought in there for any other purpose, but I think that Ibas was brought in to help stabilize the polity in Rivers. And if you see the way he has started, you will know that that is exactly what he's aiming at. He has invited the traditional rulers, he has shared his thoughts with them, and has urged them to shun partisanship and maintain peace in their various communities. He has also had discussions with I think tomorrow is scheduled to hold a meeting with the civil servants in Rivers State. He has also met with several other interest groups, including Rivers elders. I saw that too, where he had discussions with them. And those ones too, as we speak, are also regretting, you know, because the Rivers elders, as far as I'm concerned, are complicit in this whole thing. The comments they were making, you know, it was even more than the ones Fubara was making. They were all enjoying the drama because it gave them leverage to do. Even former Governor Odili, you know, it was only when EFCC, you know, in fact, when the Supreme Court gave EFCC clearance to probe Odili, that was when Odili became quiet. Odili himself didn't act like an elder that he ought to be. So you could see the meeting between Ibas and the Rivers elders and how the whole thing ended and the agreements, you know, to maintain peace. And I am sure that Ibas will also go to the creeks to meet with the leaders of these various militant groups, you know, and make them see the need to shun explosion of pipelines and all of that. So I do not think Ibas was brought in for political reasons. I think it was brought in for squarely administrative. Yesterday too, we went to the site of the demolished House of Assembly, and he promised that within 6 months,
yes,
that, you know, the job. So that tells you that the man is not a partisan person. He's just someone who is interested in rebuilding.
Are you sure he's not a member of the APC one way or the other?
I am a member of the APC. I don't deny that.
All right.
But I've never seen Ibas in any APC-related event or whatever. So he is apolitical. And that is the main reason the president brought him. The president, like St. Moses rightly said, is highly interested in Rivers, no doubt about that. But the president cannot get Rivers if Rivers is not peaceful. He cannot get Rivers if Rivers becomes a theater of war. And so the president needs to maintain, you know, the peace in Rivers. And then while Ibas is doing his thing, the gladiators in Rivers will also be very soon, I'm sure, you will see the president inviting even the Fubara and others to Abuja again to try to see how he can broker peace. You know, the president knows who to meet when it comes to the politics. And he also knows who to use when it comes to administration. He's a master strategist. Everyone knows that. So Ibas is not for the political side of it. His own is to maintain a law, maintain order, maintain constitutional democracy in Rivers State, while he is concentrating on who and who is going to use in Rivers. In fact, whether you like it or not, Wike remains pivotal, you know, to the success of the president in Rivers State. And the president will not trade that for anything. The president also knows that, you know, if Wike will be effective in Rivers State, he also needs Fubara. And so, if the president attempts, that's why I said Fubara may have had his head chopped off, or he has been saved. Because on one hand, Fubara has time. On the other hand, he doesn't have time. Now, he has time because within 6 months, if he listens to the voice of reason, if he listens to the voices of elders, those who have been there before him, he may just have his head saved. But if he continues to be stubborn, the president will have no choice. This is the political side of it now. He will have no choice than to just give waiver to the House of Assembly to remove him, and heaven will not fall.
Interesting. All about political intrigue. Now, he said the bus is there solely for administration, not for political interest. But from the way he's moving right now, it seems as if he's doing both administrative and, of course, political festus.
Wincy, a lot of things make me to laugh. If I am the president and I call you as the governor of Rivers State, you have issue with Wike, not even the legislators. The main problem is between the governor and Wike. The legislator came in because they were in solidarity with Wike. Settle this thing. This is how people should go. and you never honor the president's wish in 3-4 occasions. You went and conducted an LG election, leaving the party that sponsored you to become the governor of a state. My son will not trust that kind of a man, let alone the president. On that premises, I am so sure, unless otherwise, someone that can vouch for Fubara come in, and I'm still trying to look at the person from Sat. The former president, Jonathan, has said, no, Tinubu, you've not done anything good. Edwin Clark is no longer there. Amechi, that is supposed to be a statesman, is not playing his role. Peter Odele is not there. He is not a close friend to the Senate president. Maybe he will become, and that may save him. Because if the Senate president can appeal on his behalf, things may become normal. Wincy, there are minor premises, and those are what we are seeing. But the major premises about this whole problem is this man is not a trusted person. First, he reached an agreement with Wike, and in less than 6 months, he broke the agreement. He went to Aso Rock, reached an agreement.
Agreement under Durex. Agreement where his hands are tied.
Were you there?
Agreement where he cannot be a governor without being a governor, without being Fubara without accepting agreement. Would you accept it?
I'm coming.
He said, I can't be a governor without being a governor.
That came from our former governor in Benin.
Fubara said it also, that he can't be a governor without being a governor.
The 8-point agenda were very simple. Now that you are having issues in your state, the issues started from local government chairmen to sub-commissioners that were removed. People started going to court. The president said, all matter in court should be removed. Reinstate this. We can leave this for him. Let this man have this, you have this. It was sharing.
Negotiation.
So if this man betrayed Wike, I will not use the word he betrayed the president. If he couldn't honor what he promised before the president, who is going to trust him now?
Okay, fine. Let's come to Ibas right now.
Now, the sole administrator,
yes,
he's doing his work so that peace will come back to Rivers.
As an administrator or as a politician?
He's not a politician. Whatever is happening in Rivers State today is not a democratic element. When you lost a democratic element, you enter a situation like this. The man is ruling without a state house assembly. So he wakes up, call one or two, this is what we are going to do, and they do it. So we're not having democracy in Rivers State for now. That is why the suspended governor is having a lot of problems. If it was to be a democratic society within Rivers, Fubara could run down to court looking for court injunction. But now, you can't do that. So, St. Moses said, we can have lost. No. The man that is in charge of Rivers State today is a bosom friend to Wike.
Is that not politics coming into play right now?
I don't know how you are going to say it.
But it's a question I'm asking. Is that not political?
Let me tell you this, Wincy. Whatever is happening in Rivers State today, the president is doing everything in his power to first bring peace to Rivers, like what he said. Election will only happen if there is peace in Rivers. And the suspended governor have not been able to gather the political muscle to deliver Rivers State to the president. So that is where Wike is still very much relevant. The calculation is this: weaken Fubara. Let's Wike remain useful. Whoever becomes the governor will be a loyalist to Wike. Just imagine the speaker for more than a year have been very steadfast. That's the kind of man you can choose as governor and say, no problem, go and be doing what you want to do. The man and the other 27 legislators have remained steadfast. And you are saying they will not gain it?
All right.
They will.
All right, let's get straight down to Seth Moses. You're going to have the last line on this discussion. I'm going to ask you the same question. I'm going to give advice to the people of Rivers State. The Vice Admiral Ibas retired. Is he there for administrative function only, or is going to combine both politics and administration? Because they are saying that it's only administrative. But from the way the man is going, remember that Rivers State solution, according to pundits, is all political. Moses, over to you.
Thank you. I am very convinced that the administrator's position in Rivers State is both political and administrative. First administrative and then political. Political is even more important than the administrative function. Why do I say this? Because the president himself has declared, he has not hidden his intention to capture Rivers State for the forthcoming election. Now, if that is his intention, and that is one of the reasons why he had to remove Fubara, like my friends from Igor said, then it will be foolhardy of him to bring in somebody who will not play the politics. There are two things that the Ibas could do. One is either he creates a way for Wike to rejuvenate himself and recapture Rivers State for the president, or he creates a way for the president to erect a new structure in Rivers State that will help him to capture Rivers State. So these are the two things he will do. And he will do it very tactfully because he's a soldier and he understands tactics. And some persons say he's not a politician. I disagree completely. Every soldier is a politician. To even head the army is the highest level of politics. It's not just by, in quotes, by merit. It's yes, it's merit, but at that level, to be head is politics. You need to have played some level of politics to become the chief of naval staff. And to even be called back after you have retired tells a lot about some subtle politics. It's not just administrative or just tactics. I think the man will do his job. He will help the president to achieve whatever is in the heart of the president. And my friend from God said, Wike has lost nothing. Let me just quickly break down what I mean by Wike has lost or may lose something. I'm not a god, I'm just analyzing. Now, Wike has, as at the before the suspension, Wike had almost totalitarian control over the political structures of Rivers State. Fubara was just trying to struggle and struggle and struggle, he could not. And now with this new administrator in place, the president now has a foothold into Rivers State. If he wants to dislodge Wike without consequences, this is the time. And if he wanted to do that all the while, he would not do it without any form of resistance. Because now the 4 aces are with him. And the other guy said, they will start inquisition on Fubara. We try to embarrass him. Let us be clear about something. Fubara's suspension is not legally, it's a bit legally confusing because he's still a governor until the Supreme Court says he's not the governor. So you cannot even try him. EFC will not do anything against him. But they will be very, very confused because this situation has not happened before. It's an emergency situation. So EFC will not begin under emergency to begin to breach the constitution, which gives the governor the immunity. That immunity that my friend said they sought to remove from the governor so that they can destroy him will not work. So you should just think about another strategy. But I think the president will be right on his strategy to consolidate his foothold in Rivers State, either using Wike through using the administrator to bring Wike back, or using the administrator to perpetuate his intentions in Rivers State in any way he deems fit. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. We've dealt on this matter for quite a while. Ibas is there right now, trying to broker peace. He's called on the elders, but strangely, Even those people beating the drum of support for Fubara, and they are saying no to Wike, they are now kowtowing to the sole administrator. No, that is strange. Now, when the state of emergency was declared, some of these same people are like saying, no, it's unfair, it's not going to happen, we are going to do this, we are going to do that right now. They are saying, yes, Your Excellency, we are in tune with what you are saying, Your Excellency. I just keep on wondering, is this how politics is played in Nigeria? Anyway, like what Makan just said, he said it's government versus government. Rivers State people don't carry gun for anybody. Just be peaceful, watch and see how all days will pan out. We need peace in the Rivers State. We want our oil installations safe. We don't want bombing. That's what really led to the declaration of state of emergency. That joint that was tossed and 2 persons were caught. Maybe after interrogation, they alluded, they confessed to the crime, that this was the reason why they did what they did. Immediately in the evening of that day, over 2 days later, a day later, Mr. President declared state of emergency. We cannot joke with our primary source of income. That is just the underlying factor. And Governor Fubara didn't condemn it. He kept quiet about it. Maybe that's the reason why they were accusing him of being the person that is giving those guys the backbone because of his inaction to really stop those people. Anyway, I pray that God will give Fubara the wisdom, give Wike the wisdom, and give Mr. President the wisdom to really resolve all this. We need peace, despite the fact that politics is in it. We need peace. And Ibas right now is doing top-notch consultation. Maybe, perhaps, just perhaps, in 6 months' time, we'll know what will become of Rivers State, and I hope that is going to be in a positive dimension.